na NDC amanyɔkuo no yɛbɛkae 7 January and itimi eswe for former president here John Dramani Mahama in as a president na anwasɛm ne sɛ John Dramani Mahama etimi ene Public Utility Workers Union a etwa wɔn tia efe wɔn pool akwa akohyia sɛ baabi a edu no ebredu sɛ wɔn eton electricity company of Ghana na eno na Paul Adom Oche say where is Uncle Kwesi Pratt and John Dramani Mahama betena so aye man ba position ti afei de onka NDC amanyukuo no asɛm because NPP amanyukuo na ti akonwa so na won eka say won ekwa akoton ECG a ene nka Uncle Kwesi Pratt be sori agyina anya asɛm koto ase oma ye nton ECG na wo de yenko na yenko ti.
So the question we ask, what is the problem? Now, the minister has said that he wants to privatize ECG. So let's begin the story with PDS. So MIDA and PDS. So MIDA was an important part of the whole PDS arrangement. What was the PDS arrangement? PDS was an arrangement that was inherited by the Akufo-Addo administration in 2017. It was an arrangement that was put together in 2016. It was inherited by the Akufo-Addo administration. What was PDS going to do? PDS was being set up to take up ECG. They were going to take up the most important commercial aspects of ECG's work. They would do that as a private company. They come in, they take a concession, they run the ECG, take their money, go away. And when they are running ECG, they will determine for PULC a few things, how much to pay and all of that. The question at that time was, this was not necessary. Akufo-Addo and important members of his government decided that they will not privatize ECG. Ghana must have ECG. ECG can be fixed. We'll keep the lights on. We will not privatize ECG. And they departed from what they had inherited with PDS. Why are people smelling the rats right now? I'll tell you why. There's a gentleman, a very clever gentleman. They'll put his photograph there in a minute. You see him. Yes, I'm referring to this very clever gentleman, very intelligent man. Now, he was the COO of PDS. I'll get his name in a minute. Where's my small paper? Aha, good. Mr. Julius Kena, that's his name. Mr. Julius Kena is a very intelligent man and he's an asset to Ghana, okay? Now, who is Julius Kena? Julius Kena was the COO of MIDA, the chief executive of MIDA. He was the CEO of MIDA. MIDA is the Millennium Development Corporation. They were part of PDS. There's an American angle looking at privatizing things so that it can work efficiently. All the things that we, the capitalists, talk about, which is, in essence, might not be good for a country like Ghana. But he's very well versed in these things. Now, this is how the rats was smelled. He was COO of MIDA at the time when this conversation was happening. When Akufo-Addo became president, he wasn't CEO of MIDA anymore. Now, he's been appointed as a chief executive of the Electricity Company of Ghana, ECG. As soon as Mr. Julius Kena was appointed, everybody said, wait a minute, we don't want PDS anymore. Why are they bringing Julius Kena to ECG? Yes, a very intelligent man, but they don't want him at ECG because once he comes to ECG, privatization is going to happen. Now, let's move on with the conversation. Okay, so here's ECG MD. President John Dramani Mahama is the president and John Janapo is the minister. Now, as soon as Mr. Mahama became president, he started complaining about power and generation and all of that. So the ECG privatization seems to be a clear agenda. Today, the Workers' Union of the ECG, the Power Union Workers Association, they are called PUWU. They went to meet with Mr. Janapo and told him that they don't want ECG privatization. And then some of us got wind of what happened in the meeting and everything. But we also know the full story. Let's get you the full story over here. How does power get distributed in Ghana? That's very simple. So this is the way in which power gets distributed in Ghana. So up here is the fuel supply. You can also call it the gas supply. So anybody who supplies fuel is up here. If for some reason the government of Ghana is buying fuel from you, you are Allied Oil or you are Fraga Oil or you are Shell, you all come to fuel supply. So from fuel supply, it goes over to the generators. That is, the fuel goes into the generators. So I saw Glee Power Plant, Senate Power, Sen Power, ASKA, is it ASKA? Yes, ASK. Yes, all of them. They are generators, okay? So then they come to the transmitter, which is Gridco. So Gridco will then transmit, mind you, this part, this transmitter and the distribution all used to be ECG. All that used to be ECG, okay? So the generators are all of them, including VRA. VRA sits here because they also have Tico in Takrade is VRA, and some of the generators are under VRA. And then Hydro, which doesn't use fuel, but it also generates, is also under VRA. Okay, so that comes to transmission. Gridco is a transmitting platform that is done, and then it goes to the distribution, and the distribution is by ECG, comes to your house, comes to my house, goes to your former secondary school at Disadel, goes to my former secondary school, Prese, goes to your grandmother in Atebubu, goes to my grandmother in Yamuase, and all of that. So this is how it works. All right. What is the government intending to do? Let's move on. So government wants to hand over billing, payment, and collection to a private company. But why should we do that? I mean, why in God's name should we hand over the electricity company of Ghana's payment, collection, and billing to a private company that is coming in from somewhere? It's not Ghanaian. No Ghanaian businessman is going to benefit. Just come and take over ECG, and they will go and bill. They will collect the money from us, and they will make the payment. That's it. That's all they are going to do. They're going to bring in meters and all of that. So the issue against the privatization is the government must explain what is wrong with ECG now. What is the privatization going to cure? From what the PUW are saying, the privatization is going to cure nothing. It's just going to make the lives of Ghanaians worse. For a government that has run on the back of social contract, a left-wing government comes into government and privatizes ECG. Please tell Ambassador Kwesi Pratt and the Socialist Forum that I'm going to hound them until I hear their view about this ECG privatization. Because if this was happening in MPP era, Kwesi Pratt would be on Good Morning Ghana and said that we will never allow the privatization of ECG. He would have said it. Today, his daughter is in the office of the vice president. Government wants to privatize ECG. Kwesi Pratt says he hasn't heard it. Kwesi Pratt has not heard that the government of the NDC wants to privatize ECG. I have been following Kwesi Pratt for 25 years. He's a socialist. He's against privatization. And I'm telling you that if this was MPP, you come on Good Morning Ghana, he can even come on Good Evening Ghana. We will not allow the privatization of the ECG by the government. The workers of this country are going to rise up against it. That's what Kwesi Pratt would have said. Today, we have not heard him. We have not heard anything from Kwesi Pratt. Electricity Company of Ghana is being privatized. Socialist Forum says they haven't heard it. We have heard it, and we are going to say what we have to say. All right. So, but didn't ECG try to resolve revenue losses with a loss reduction project in 2022, 23, and 24? All right. This is the catch on this one. So ECG was getting losses, and then they decided that they were going to have a loss reduction project. There's a young man there who was doing very well. Incidentally, his name is Mahama. The guy who was at ECG, his surname is Mahama. I've forgotten his first name. But in during his time, they did this. Okay, what did this achieve? From the records that we have seen, this was a policy to decide that meters, is a big part of the ECG conversation. So they wanted the meters to be manufactured in Ghana so that it cuts off a lot of the cost. So they brought a policy where if you want to do meters for ECG, you have to have a company domiciled in Ghana, and then you manufacture it from Ghana. And then when you manufacture it, ECG gives you an area, say Teshite Bibiano, where I live. So you go to Teshite Bibiano, and then you go and install your meters. When the ECG recognizes within a number of days, month, that Teshite Bibiano revenue has increased, then they now believe that the meters that you supplied is the reason for the increase in revenue. It is then that they begin to pay you. Now, this process, do we have the figures? Yes, this process led to an increase in revenue of about $1 billion, showing a jump from 500 million per month, one single month, to 1.5 billion in revenue for ECG. Viewers, look at this. This is correct. This is happening. That this led, the revenue losses about getting meters to occur here, getting meters to be manufactured here, gave a revenue jump from 500 million to 1.5 billion, almost a 1 billion jump. The PURC says that this could be better. PURC says that based on this arrangement that ECG brought up, they should have been picking up 2 billion instead of 1.5 billion. They found out, however, that the shortfall is as a result of government agencies that don't remit ECG the way they have to. So ministries don't pay, some university, secondary school, etc., etc. In any case, this brought 1.5 billion. So this looked like a policy that they should continue. Now, there's something interesting going on here that you have to see. There's something very interesting going on here that is also bringing the smelling of the rat. This document I have here shows that the demand-supply balance and fuel requirements to mitigate deficits. So it's about fuel requirements. How much fuel do we need? In December 2024, the NPP government's handing over notes said that generally in total, all over the country, we are consuming at peak time 3,953 megawatts of power. That's what we are consuming in December, as according to the document. We have been told by the Minister for Energy that our consumption is something in the region of 4,400. The question that we might use an RTI to ask the Minister for Energy is that what happened? Why is the 3,953 megawatts wrong, as was projected by Akufo-Addo's government in their handing over notes? How did we jump from 3,953 to 4,400? Now, viewers, do you know why that is important? That's important because the minister is telling us that he's going to take our taxpayers' money to import fuel so that we don't have doomsaw. And he's importing fuel, according to the Honorable Jinapo, he's importing fuel for 4,400. But the cost, the megawatts that we have is 3,953. So why is he importing fuel for 400 megawatts more? That's a conversation we need to ask him. Do you know what the industry experts are telling us? The industry experts are telling us that is something that is, as they say, is, I don't know what word to use. But you are supposed to import fuel for 3,953. If the government imports fuel for 4,400, there's some fuel there that the 3,900 doesn't need. What's going to happen to that fuel which has been bought by taxpayers' money? Now, that's a lot of fuel. It's not like my Hyundai car or your Toyota car. No. It's proper fuel, plenty. They are talking about megawatts for electricity generation. So 400 megawatts of fuel needed for 400 can fill your tank, my tank, for 10 years. Good evening. Welcome to the show. Felix Ofosu-Kwesi today has announced the President Mohammed's decision of who and whom will be part of his cabinet. 19 ministers from cabinet as dictated by the Republican Constitution of 1992. John Dramani Mahama, President of Ghana, with a good heart, made this statement during the campaign. At least 30% of my cabinet will be women if elected in 2024 elections. That was September 2024. President John Dramani Mahama, the elected president, said this, that 30% of his cabinet will be women. Today, Felix Ofosu-Kwesi announced the women, and unfortunately, President Mahama could not make the promise. Why are we all failing in this promise? Professor Mills failed in this promise. Nana Akufo-Addo didn't quite promise, but he became a gender champion, trying hard to push women in. But Nana Akufo-Addo didn't have a cabinet of 30% women, but he was the African gender champion. The question we are asking civil society today is that why are our politicians eager to promise that they will do something for women? Is it because the demographics shows that women have more voters? Because all our politicians promise that they will do something for women, they never are able to do it. I don't think President Mahama didn't want to do it. I'm sure when he arrived at the office, the circumstances dictated otherwise. So this is what he said. 30% of cabinet will be women. We announced to you tonight that he's broken his first promise. Now let's see why. Okay, it's here again, captured by GH1. 30% of my cabinet will be women. John Mahama, NDC flag bearer. Within the first 14 days of my presidency, I will nominate my cabinet, 30% of whom will be women. First 14 days of his presidency has also been missed. Cabinet was announced today, and so President Mahama, but that's not important. We can leave that. What we are concerned is how come that President Mahama, who really wanted to do this, was not able to do it? Is it that this party doesn't have enough women? Is it that there are not enough women he could have nominated to have 30% in his cabinet? I don't know why. The women groups should come and ask him why. Okay, so this is the cabinet. Congratulations to K. Salatu Forsen, Finance Minister, Mubarak Muntaka, Interior Minister, Kwabena Minta Akando, Health Minister, Dr. Omane Boama Edward, Defense Minister. And then you have Dominic Ayeni, Attorney General, John Abdullahi Jinapo, about whom we have a conversation tonight. Tonight, we have a big conversation with John Abdullahi Jinapo coming up as our second story, so just wait for it. John Jinapo, congratulations. He is Minister for Energy and Green Transition. Idrisu Haruna, Minister for Education. Elizabeth Ofosu-Ajare, Minister for Trade, Agribusiness and Industry. She is one of the women. And then Samuel Okujeto Ablakwa, Minister, Foreign Affairs. Emmanuel Amako Fibua, Minister, Lands and Natural Resources. Eric Opoku, Minister, Food and Agriculture. Please, has the cocoa price thing stood, or is there, what is happening? Eric Opoku got a bloody nose when the chief executive of Cocoa Board, our own Randy Abe, told him that, Minister, stop misinforming people. Stop that. Tonight we'll deal with that story. Minister said 70%. Cocoa Board said stop misinforming people. That was on Tuesday. We don't know the latest. We'll find out. There's a cabinet meeting today, and I'm hoping that cabinet has something to say about that. All right. Next is Samuel Nate George, who is Minister for Communication, Digital Technology and Innovations. And then the list continues. Kwame Governance Abuja, who has a very special relationship with Metro TV and GH1. He's Minister of Roads and Highways. Ibrahim Mutala Mohammed, Minister for Environment, Science and Technology. Ken Ajay Gilbert is Minister for Works, Housing and Water Resources. Ahmed Ibrahim is Minister for Local Government, Chieftaincy and Religious Affairs. Then the next woman is Agnes Na Momolate. Congratulations to her. She is Minister for Gender, Children and Social Protection. Joseph Bukari Nikbe is Minister for Transport. Abdul Rashid H. Pelpo, Minister for Works, Housing and Water Resources. So at the end of the day, there are 2 women out of 19 ministers times 100%. The answer you get is 10.526 or 10.53. This is the broken promise of John Dramani Mahama. Sorry, sir. It can be very, very, very difficult. We know that you wanted to do it. Perhaps as part of your 4-year term, we'll get to the point where you'll be able to achieve this objective. But for now, those MPP people in Ashanti and Eastern who did not vote, what was they protesting against?
One, I think they were not happy with Nanado.
Nanado in particular?
Yes.
Was it tribal? In Eastern and Ashanti especially. Was it tribal?
Look, let me tackle this once and for all.
Yes, please.
You see, in this country, the dynamics or the demography of MPP voters are largely Akan.
Yes.
About 65% of MPP base are Akan. Now, you have an Akan base, but your candidate come from a different group. Right?
That's deep, eh?
Yes, that's deep. You will struggle to galvanize the Akans.
Why won't the Akans vote for another tribe candidate?
No, you see...
Are they MPP because they are Akans, or they believe in the MPP's philosophy?
Look, there are people who are MPP because they are Akans. Simple as that.
They are MPP because they are Akans.
Yes. And if you look at what has happened, I mean...
They feel the MPP is their party.
Of course.
Okay. Whether in opposition or in government is their party.
Akan for party. I mean,
They've said it. They've said it.
I'm an Achim, I've come from the same place, so I know what we say. So it is seen as Akan base. So when you give the Akans what they feel to be an alien to them, they are not galvanized, enthused by it.
And what is alien to them is determined by tribe.
Of course. You see, the only thing...
Will the Akans take a bono?
They are all Akans.
They consider bono as Akan?
Yes.
Kintampo?
Yes, they are all Akans.
So, Chebi, Achim Swedro?
They are all Akans.
Western region?
They are all Akans.
Parts of central region?
They are all Akans.
But that means you can do a double Akan ticket and win if you're MPP.
It's about numbers.
Yeah.
If you have to work out where the numbers
So
come
those
from.
MPP people who said that MPP is in trouble because they have moved away from their base, should we have listened to them?
Look, during the polling season, when we were polling, when you put an Akan candidate against Mahama, the gap shrinks.
Oh, that's interesting. Any Akan candidate?
Any Akan candidate.
Say Kennedy Japan.
If a candidate Japan was doing better than Baumia against Mahama.
Who?
And Kennedy Japan.
Or was doing better
Yes.
against Muhammad than Baumia?
Yes. And then even when Alan was in the race, the same thing was applied.
Alan was doing better?
Yes.
So if Napo was the candidate number 1, would it have made a difference? He comes from Menchia.
It could have been worse.
But you are saying Akan.
No.
Or about him in particular.
I mean, look, Napo's personality is different. So Akan, but even Akan didn't want him. He lost massively.
How didn't the MPP decision makers know that the Akans may not like Napo? How didn't they know?
I don't know. I don't know. But we came in later. And
So if the running mate was different, would it make a difference?
Yes.
MPP will still lose, but it will make a difference.
Yes.
If Kennedy Japan was a running mate, will it make a difference?
Absolutely, yes.
Could they have made a difference in parliament as well?
Every number counts.
I mean, if Kennedy Japan is a candidate, the difference in presidential will come. But will it affect parliament?
If he was candidate, I don't think they would lost Asin Central.
Yes, I mean, straightforward, you can say that.
Yeah. So
at least for that one.
There are areas that he will have influence. And there are people who he would have galvanized to come out and vote.
What about the women? If Baumia had a female running mate, would it have made a difference?
No.
They will still go down.
No. Look,
But you know, people like you make Ghana very modern. And I like that.